This was a presentation presented by Scott Warris, the president of Boys and Girls Club of Crowsnest Pass, at the annual general meeting on March 11th, 2013. Last year at this time in her president's report, Clara Yagas began with the famous lines from Alice in Wonderland. "Would you tell me please which way I ought to go from here?" asked Alice. "That depends a good deal on where you want to get to," said the cat. That quote summarized what we were faced with at the time. We knew our vision, our mission, our guiding principles, and our values, and we knew what we wanted to accomplish for the children and youth of our community. However, we were faced with some major challenges to get there. Clara finished her report with the need to focus on building a strong board of directors, fine-tuning our board governance, reviewing and updating our bylaws, our policies, our procedures, developing strategic plans for the long-term success of the club. Now, at the time, I concluded my treasurer's report by saying that I was confident we could build on the fundamentals put in place and fine-tuned over the previous 2 years, and that by the time we met at our next AGM, the club would be in a much better place to the benefit of us all. The question we want answered tonight is, just how did we do? Let's take a look at where we were last year at this point. We'll step through what I believe were some major accomplishments throughout the past year, and perhaps finish by celebrating where we are now. I'll let you decide that. Where we were. At our last AGM, March 21st, 2012, the club was not in the best situation. We were in the midst of a temporary shutdown. We had no staff. We had about, our bank balance wasn't too bad. We had about $30,000 sitting in the bank. Some of it restricted, but most of it unrestricted. We had an ongoing grant applications happening with Kim Miskelin, who was under contract for the club, writing grants. We had presented a budget with the goal of restarting the club with summer programs. We had the Creation Nation Youth Program was underway, and this was something that Kim Miskelin had spent a lot of time on, getting funding from the Boys and Girls Club of Canada. That program was running, and we did have a pretty optimistic outlook for 2012. In late March and into April, we had the Creation Nation program had funds in place that we were able to use to develop a media center. We purchased a second iMac for the club. We purchased a projector, a Wii system, a couple of netbooks, plus the funding covered program staff and supplies for that particular initiative. We received approval from FCSS for just over $20,000 in funding. And we launched our 2012 fundraising campaign at the trade show at Chamber of Commerce. And the highlight of that was the announcement of summer programming and the expansion of our duck race. And our very first duck ticket, 0001, was sold to Councillor Jerry Lonsbury. Into May and June, we had hired Nicole Pierce as our executive and our program director, and she was charged with the mandate to relaunch the Boys and Girls Club of Crowsnest Pass. We had a few new members join our board, mid-term, Tony Partridge and John Warlow from the community, and they replaced Eric Gouthier and Kimberly Massey, who had moved away from the community. We were approved for Canada Summer Jobs funding of $12,000, and we began the process of hiring our summer staff. Nicole focused on presentations at all 3 of the schools, mainly describing the summer program, and started to sign up kids for that program. Nicole also established at that time a collaboration with UROC, which was the United Riders of Crowsnest, our mountain bike club here, to start a mountain bike program for youth. And the high school, CCHS, donated $750 from their fundraiser that they had ran specifically for us. In July, our summer program was launched with 38 kids at the beginning. We had 4 summer staff in place. Kim Miskelen was on contract with us, helping out with administration, and Nicole. We established a fee structure, and the goal of that was to try to have the majority of the summer program to be self-funding. Our fundraising campaign was in full swing. We had a number of events that we were involved with, Bellcrest Days. We did concession and parking program for the Sinister 7 race. During Rum Runner Days, we had lemonade wagons in the parade. We had our Send Kids program where people could sponsor a kid to go to camp for the summer. And of course our duck race was run, and we had a summer street festival that we were involved with. Overall, we finished the fundraising campaign at the end of July by raising $13,000 directly in that campaign, and we also had $7,000 in related donations. Into August, our summer program was seeing some steady growth almost every day. There's a lot of time was spent on redesigning our website. We added a full online membership application and ability to register for the programs. Also, the event calendar was added in there that was updated on a regular basis. We changed the whole website to a blog format to allow for very simple updating by our executive director and staff. The United Way announced a $20,000 commitment to our after-school program, and that was a positive way of getting that off the ground. We did a number of proposals. We did a proposal to collaborate with the library, and that was approved by the library board, giving us space for administration with regular office hours, so we could provide regular office hours, and some of our youth programs to run out of there at no charge to us. We also did a proposal to collaborate with Isabel Sullen School, and that was approved with for after-school programs. Classroom space was provided along with the use of the gym at no charge. We also did a proposal to Tech Coal, a major corporate sponsor in the community, and that resulted in a $25,000 commitment from them to our after-school program. Into September, we wrapped up the summer program. It was an overwhelming success with club membership finishing off at 80 kids, and we had over 600 kid days of programming over the summer, which was nearly double the previous year. The cost to run that program ended up being divided pretty well evenly by 1/3 with Canada Summer Jobs, the fees themselves, and the club making up the difference. We did a presentation to FCSS for our 2013 after-school program funding, which went quite well. The club continued to work very closely with the Crow's Nest Pass 40 Assets Initiative, and Nicole ended up joining the steering committee of that initiative. That is something we take very seriously, and the club was able to provide, feels that we're able to provide a number of those assets in the community for the youth. We made the decision, the board made the decision to vacate our room that we had at MDM, the facility that we had at MDM as part of our cost-cutting measures. The after-school program details and the budget was finalized with staff hired for the after-school program. They were hired on call, again part of restructuring and cutting the costs and being more efficient. And also Kim Miskelen continued to do a number of things with social media, maintaining our presence on Facebook and a few other areas. Into October, we launched our after-school program. We received a $5,000 grant for the Keystone program, which is a youth leadership initiative. We hired Rebecca Dewey, who is an accomplished actress, to run that program and work with the kids. And Nicole attended the Keystone workshop in Toronto. We hired Debbie Goldstein to run a music program with the club at Seniors Lodge. The RCMP selected Boys and Girls Club to receive the proceeds from some of the proceeds from their regimental ball, and we were involved with some fundraising activities there. Kim Miskellin coordinated a funding contest on Facebook with the Aviva community funding program. We received a lot of support and votes from the community on that. Unfortunately, we weren't successful in making the final round, but it certainly showed the kind of support that and awareness that we have in the community. We're seeing more and more volunteers coming forward through a specific initiative that Nicole had at that time to promote the club to volunteers, and a lot of them are starting to come forward to work with programs. The municipality waived our final rent, and we had Nicole and I had met with them to negotiate the leaving of the MDM facility, and they also arranged free storage for us at the TNS storage in Frank. Into November and December, we were awarded a $12,000 grant for the Get Busy program, and that's a healthy, active living program for 8 to 12-year-olds. We initiated a fee-free time frame to try to build our membership, and we decided that that was going to be a focus of the club in that few-month period, so we removed all the fees. We did a family needs survey that was completed by families from both schools that we dealt with. Nicole created a fairly in-depth, detailed staff handbook for the staff to use for procedures. She did presentations to both the Coleman and the Blairmore Lions clubs, and that resulted in over $2,000 in donations. The food bank redirected $1,200 in their United Way funding to us specifically for our snack program. The Devon Plant Crow Gas Club there, the employee club, donated the remaining funds that they had in their community fund of $1,600 they chose us to receive. And Tony Partridge on our board, he established an art program with $400 of funding from Service Credit Union. Moving into the new year, in January and February, we hired MJ Myden as an administration assistant for Nicole and also for myself to take some of the administration chores off of the board, and that's made a huge difference. Our Jackrabbit cross-country ski program started, and that was with 26 kids. We sold out that program. That was a collaboration with the Crow's Nest Pass Cross-Country Ski Club, as well with funding from the Lethbridge Community Foundation, where we were able to purchase a full set of cross-country ski gear for the kids. We started the Mind, Body, Soul girls-only program for girls in grades 7 to 12, and by the end of February we had 9 girls participating in that program. It has been a very successful program to date. We hired Tristan Zeller for a dance program for the after-school program, which was part of the Get Busy grant that we had received. And the Keystone Leadership Program began with presentations to all the students at the high school with Nicole and Rebecca. So that takes us to where we are now. On March 11th, 2013, we have over 180 kids are members of the club. We had over 40 kids that have been involved with cross-country skiing programs, either in that Jackrabbit program or we did other PD Day introduction to cross-country ski programs. And that was with a number of volunteers that helped out with that. We have over 16 teens involved with the Mind, Body, Soul and the Keystone programs, and we've had some very positive feedback from them. Nicole and Tristan do regular lunch visits to the high school at least 3 times a week, promoting those team programs and interacting and just talking with the kids there. And if we look at the participation levels, I think that they speak for themselves. We finished off the summer of 2012 with total of 614 kid days of participation. That was over double what we had the year before. Our fall portion of the after-school program, we had 394 participants during that period. So far to date in the winter after-school program, we've had 391 kid days in participation. The Jackrabbit program worked out to 130 kid days of participation, and our teen program over 75 participation days with the teens. I think we're in a very positive position with our outlook for our funding and coming into 2013 and 2014. We have a number of grants that we've applied for that we're hoping are going to come through, and we'll touch on that a little bit in a minute. And we've also, I think, set a fairly realistic budget, which we'll also take a look at that in a second here. Taking a look at the financial statement for the year finishing our fiscal year, which was December 31st. This gives you a quick idea of how much better position that we are finishing up the year in than we did last year. When you look at the comparison between 2011 and 2012, our total income finished up at $133,610, over $105,000 in the previous year. And our total expenses, now of course we didn't run the after-school program, which has a lot to do with that, but we also reduced a lot of our operating expenses. In 2012 we had $92,000 in expenses compared to $153,000 the year before. So we ended up with an excess of receipts over expenses of $41,000. Our balance sheet as of December 31st was also in a much healthier situation. We finished off with $73,549 in total cash in the bank. We also have some assets there, and compared to just $32,000 that we finished off 2011 in. Taking a look at our budget overview for going forward, we actually chose to format the budget a little bit different and move away from our fiscal year budget, mainly because our programs don't really follow our fiscal year. So we create our budget based on a budget year of from July till June. And so this budget that you see starts on July 1st of 2013 and goes to June 30th of 2014. And what we did is we worked out what kind of funds we expect to have in the bank at the end of June of 2013, and that's shown as funds carried forward on this budget. But to do a quick run through on the income side, mostly this is based on corporate donations, private donations at the top there, $7,500 in public support, tax receivable. Also other nonprofit grants that we expect, $3,000. Non-tax receivable donations. This would be mostly the Tech Coal donation of $25,000, which we are hoping to see again. As well as other support for a total of $27,500 there. Specific government grants, federal grant of $12,000, that's a Canada Summer Jobs grant that we've applied for. Local government grants, $21,300 is FCSS. And provincial grants is a CIP grant that we've applied for, which is, we actually applied for $75,000 over 2 years. I included $30,000 in the budget for that. Now, it should be noted that we're still not, we haven't received confirmation on any of this funding, but we're hoping. Other support, service clubs, that's the Lions Clubs, $2,000. United Way will be applying again for $20,000 this year. We're showing $3,000 funds carried forward. That's the expected amount of funds we'll have at the end of June. And then our program income, membership dues, we estimate about $1,000 from that. We charge $20 a year for our members. We do have a program for offsetting those fees if necessary. And then also the program service fees, and most of that comes through the summer program, as well as fees that we set for after-school programs, and that combined is just over $30,000. We do have some special events coming up. We have a casino that's been confirmed for the weekend of June 8th and 9th. We're estimating about $30,000 income from that. That can be spent over a 2-year period, and which is why I've shown half of it on this budget of $15,000. And then the fundraising campaign, our goal this year would be to raise $15,000 from it for a total of $30,000. So altogether, this budget is based on a total income available to us of $186,700. Into the expense side of things, these should be fairly accurate since we've now been operating for a few years and under this new format where we've spent a lot of time reworking our operations expenses, reducing our expenses wherever we can. So I think these should be fairly accurate. We have a total on this page that covers business expenses, contract services, which is mostly payroll processing and accounting and some outside contract work, and our rent that we have for sports facilities, and also for, this is mostly for temporary facilities that we use, and our storage. So we end up with about $2,800 there. Continuing on the expense side of it are some of our larger expenses, program, actual cost to run the programs. This isn't wages, this is kind of day-to-day expenses, as well as our snack program and food supplies, $7,300 there. Our other big one is transportation. Of course, we own our own bus, and anyone who runs a bus realizes just how expensive it is to run a bus. So we're estimating about $5,500 total for that. We do have a number of volunteers that step up to help with the bus, both in driving and doing some maintenance, but there is parts of it that, of course, we still have to pay for. General operation expenses, office expenses, one of our biggest ones is telecommunications, of course, which covers our phones. We have 2 cell phones. We receive internet access at the library, so fortunately we don't have a specific cost for that, but there's $4,600 in operations. Other types of expenses, costs to run our fundraising campaign, part of that is in the prizes and things. Advertising, insurance is a very big one. We pay almost $400 a month for insurance. Dues and membership, that's mostly for Boys and Girls Club Canada. And also we've put $1,500 in there for staff development. For a total of $11,000 in other types of expenses. Our biggest expense, of course, is wages. Permanent staff, which is Nicole and MJ. Nicole full-time permanent, MJ part-time, at $72,000 for that 12-month period. Temporary staff is pretty well all the summer staff, $16,000. Of course, we have workers' compensation dues. Then the wages for our after-school programs, which we break out into our K-6 programs, $20,000 there, just over, and then our teen programs, $8,000. So our total wage expense of $117,900, which of course is our biggest expense. That puts our total expenses of the whole program for that 12-month period at $151,180. So the overview of the budget there is pretty healthy if everything comes through as we expect and the way we have the programs designed to run. A lot of work into reducing our cost to operate and becoming as efficient as possible, which was one of our mandates moving into this year. we end up with a surplus of $35,500 at the end of the year, which is a nice buffer to have. That is, of course, based on a number of those grants and things coming through. But it's good to know that we could have a few of those that we miss out on, which may happen, and still be able to run the programs the way we're hoping. So I'd like to conclude this part of the presentation by touching on the fact that there's been a lot of effort has gone into doing more with less. And I recall a few years back as treasurer that I was advising the board then that we had estimated it took us $16,000 a month to run the after-school program. At that time, that was our burn rate, to use a bit of business jargon. This year, so far, we're averaging about $9,000 a month. And I would say we have more kids involved with the program now. Now, much credit for this has to go to our executive director, to Nicole. Her passion and perseverance and their genuine desire to see healthy, active options available to all our kids has resulted in a dramatic turn of events compared to just 1 year ago for our club. Also to Kim Miskelin, she focused a lot of her efforts on youth programs and on the funding and promotion of those programs, and we're seeing the results of that now. And finally to all the volunteers who believe in the importance of the services that we provide to the community, our board members, our program assistants, mentors, volunteers, bus drivers that have stepped forward to help out. So many have stepped up with their time and generous financial support, and really much of that, what we've noticed, is unsolicited, which is nice to see. And for all of that, I thank everyone. But our work is not done. We still have a lot of ideas moving forward. Nicole, for example, she is continuing now to promote the club throughout the community in a lot of different ways. Recently, she collaborated with Kim Lutz of the municipality of Crow's Nest Pass and the Crow's Nest Community Support Society and the Crow's Nest Conservation Society. And they've all worked together in applying for an evergreen grant towards the idea of building a community garden at Pete's Park in Blairmore. She's also recently met with a number of stakeholders to present the idea of building a community clubhouse in Pete's Park, where possibly we could run our summer programs out of. She approached the Ricky Rip Foundation here and the NIT architectural program for assistance. And I know she has a number of local businesses and tradespeople on her radar to get involved with this. I think this is a very exciting idea, and I'm sure that the new board coming up and the community as a whole will definitely support it and get behind it. On the funding front, of course, we continue to have challenges, as do a lot of nonprofits at the moment. We've recently learned of our new provincial budget cuts here that are going to affect us. One of the biggest ones is the Community Spirit program has been totally cut, as has the STEP program. The STEP program is the provincial summer student program. As it happens, we didn't apply for STEP funding this year. We have in past years. We apply for both STEP, which is provincial, and Canada Summer Jobs, which is federal. But we've only used the federal program funding in the last few years. So this year we only applied for the Canada Summer Jobs funding. Hopefully we're not going to see that cut because of the amount of other groups that have applied. However, Community Spirit program, now that's not going to directly affect our 2013 budget because they are still following through with the applications that went in at the end of December, which we put one in for about $9,000. However, it will probably be noticed in future years because that's a big chunk of our funding going forward. So that's going to be sorely missed, and I'm hoping that they reconsider that. Our long-awaited casino, as I mentioned earlier, is going to take place in June, and hopefully that will add about $30,000 to our funding for the next couple of years. We're still waiting for word on our CIP grant, which is a Community Infrastructure Program grant application. Now that forms a pretty big part of our 2013 budget. If we're not successful there, we may have to revisit the structure of our summer and after-school program designs, but I'm still convinced that we'll be able to make that happen. But even with all that uncertainty, I'm confident that with the many changes we've made to the operations of the club, the improvements to processes and our efficiencies, all the collaborations within the community that we've established, and the dedication and passion of our staff and volunteers, that we will continue to fulfill our mandate. If the 2013 budget funding comes through as I'm hoping, I'm recommending that to the board that we establish a reserve fund to help smooth out some of our future funding cycles, which can be very challenging. Ideally, we should have at least 1 year of operating funds in reserve, and I suggested to the board that we start by setting aside 10% of all of our income on a quarterly basis, if we're able to do that, in order to start building up that reserve fund. When it comes to the business of the society, it's all about sustainability and fiscal responsibility. But when it comes to the services that we provide to the community, it's all about the kids. The kids don't care how we do it, but I'm convinced that it's everyone's responsibility in the community that we do it. So thank you very much.